Welcome to Grit and Gravitas with Ann and Annie, bringing you savvy, spirited stories of success. We're excited to deliver 30 minutes of inspiration, impact, and goodness. We'll be bringing you guests and friends from around the country who have very special work and personal journeys. I'm Ann Deeter Gallaher, your co-host with Annie Carnathan, and this is Grit and Gravitas. Let's go! It is so exciting that Grit and Gravitas is in the house at Members First.
I think we're not necessarily even guests anymore. I think we sort of have a guest bedroom.
Well, we don't have our own swipe card, so we're not really in.
True.
Yes,
that's true. But it's really great to be back here.
So, Sara Elerman, we are beyond excited. We've been hoping you would join us in your own podcast studio here at Members First. And Annie has heard me talk about you a million times, as a lot of people for women in business. But welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Perfect timing. I'm so glad, so happy, and so happy to have you. I think you definitely earned a badge. We'll make that work. We'll have to talk about it.
We're going to work on that. I do love to be in the inner circle.
Yes. That's right.
We'll make sure.
Right.
So, Sara, you are Regional Vice President with Members First, which, I've done my homework, has 600,000 members in 11 counties and 1,200 employees. So not an insignificant credit union or financial institution. It's a big boy.
That's a really big boy. That's a lot. You know what? It's a lot of people to keep not necessarily happy, but satisfied, thriving. That's not easy to do.
I agree.
And I'm super excited that we have our little nod here to High Gear with Sara Elerman, which is so sweet. And we have High Gear women guests, all except for one in our, actually I think this might be the 100th episode. How's that?
How special.
I think when we release this, it would be the 100th episode. But so that would be all women except for Mike Wilson, who is your CEO. And that's really like a coveted spot, you know. I know we have a waiting list of men that are trying to get on.
You know, and we talked about this. Mike is an advocate of everyone.
Yep.
Right. But I also think too his body of work really promotes and recognizes women in leadership in the Members First family and organization. And so I think that's a huge homage, not just to you, Sara, but to Members First.
When I think of Sara, Annie, you've heard me talk about this, but in our world of AI and technology and remote work and, spending so much screen time, I first met you through networking and in-person, visits and conversation. We talk about that. Really, I think a defining advantage now is getting out and meeting people and doing an event. Raising your hand and saying yes to, I'm going to go there, I'm going to participate, I'm going to join, which is what you did with our Downtown Camp Hill Association. And when we reached out and asked Members First, would you like to sponsor us? It's a small town, 8,000, residents. We were doing really cool stuff in the business community, and we were looking for, a big sponsor who understood, who would be our community champion. And really that's what.
Almost like a partner.
Yes. And so, Annie, generally that means you're going to stick a sign somewhere. If you're having an event or you're having a golf event, that means the sponsors, jump in, they write the check and they put the sign there. Sara took it to a new level. And it was the first thing we all noticed was showing up, volunteering, engaging with the community that had nothing to do with opening accounts. You just showed up and said, hey, you were the face of Members First. You were the brand advocate there in our community, and I've walked away ever since and said that is the way to do it.
Talk about that, Sara. Does that come naturally?
That's a really good question. I think it's a little bit of both. I think naturally, I love people, no matter where I am.
Well, it shows.
I just love to hear their stories, ask them questions, find what it is that they, do and enjoy and love. So every single event at Camp Hill, you get to know those people and you get to know why they love Camp Hill so much. I remember talking with Ann after the first round of events. I said, I think I'm moving to Camp Hill. This is my new home now.
Good. Then it
and
was
I still think about this very
the
often.
spirit, right?
I live there spiritually, actually. I say that all the time. I just enjoy it a lot. But I think there's a skill that you have to develop and continue working on to support that natural instinct that comes through. I love people, but what I had to work on is what kind of questions, what kind of presence, how to balance listening and talking, because I love to talk and I also love to share my story, but I had to work on that skill of balancing the two. And, be genuinely curious, help people, take people with me. I know one of the things that I always admire with Ann is she knows people genuinely and authentically. She really does know them. And even when she introduces me to someone, I always stand back, oh, me? You know that about me? And it was early on when we first got to know each other. So I always have loved that. And that's a skill I think that maybe comes natural, but you can't master it without really being intentional and focusing on it too. Just a little bit of both.
How did you identify that? So how do you say, this is where I am, and look out and say, here's the work I have to do on me to get there? That more balance. Did someone guide you to that? Is that instinct? Is it a guiding light somewhere?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
I'm big on balance. You're going to hear me say that so much, but I really think it's a mix of all. I definitely got very lucky. When I started with Members First, I started as a recruit. I was working in retail. Someone came up to me and said, why don't you work at a bank with us at the credit union? I said, listen, no, you don't want me. I love shopping. I love retail. Get a discount.
Yeah.
This is my world, and I'm really enjoying it. But she really insisted. She took me under her wing, and she really helped me. I know I've had challenges. I wasn't the easiest employee to work with because I had so much to learn. I was not only brand new to the financial industry, but I also was sort of still new to the country. So she's balancing all things. She's coaching me on all things. So that was one person who really made a huge impact. And then after that, I work with someone else who teaches me more and more. Until I got into leadership, and my manager had talked to me about presence. And I said, what is presence?
You have it.
I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know that was something that people strive for. I got fortunate because I have some of it naturally, but also had to cultivate it and think about what perception I want to leave when I am not in a room, on my team, on a community, on my personal connections. So she really talked to me about that and made it a conscious effort that, your presence as a leader specifically, or someone who's volunteering or working in a community, is something that you have to be conscious of and intentional with. So again, it's cultivating what comes naturally at times, but having that right leadership, the right mentorship, and I think too, being open to feedback. I think the more open I was, the more comfortable people were to tell me things, not just the pleasant things, but the tough things. Right. But I took it. I said, "Oh, give me more. I'm really hungry for that feedback."
That's a business vitamin, Ann, because
being open to.
Yeah, that's exactly right. To being
advice,
for lack of a better way, not necessarily just coachable.
Yep.
Yes.
Because there is absolutely no way. It's a journey. It's not a destination. We're never fully baked in there, right? We just have to take strides on the journey. Yeah. To self-improve. Right. And I just read this quote that when we're talking, we're repeating what we know. When we listen is when we learn.
Yeah.
And you were so open to that.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Well, share, I don't want to, I usually start with a backstory, but we jumped right in. So give our listeners a little bit of your backstory, which is absolutely fascinating. You're an immigrant to the United States, but give our listeners a history of what really made you who you are.
Okay, we have time?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
It's
I'm
our
ready.
show.
2 hours and 5 minutes.
We have time.
I can stick to that. Sounds good. My story started with moving to the U.S. 17 years ago. This year, it's officially half. I've been here for 17 years, and I lived in Egypt 17 years. So it really is so incredible to think back and think of all the things I've learned and all the lessons that came with the journey. But moved here when I was 17. got into high school, started to learn the culture, starting to take it all in, start working in retail, like I said. It was such an incredible experience. I still remember it significantly. Talking about being coachable, I remember my manager from that time and all the things that she would tell me and just
As a
the small
teenager
nuggets.
still, yeah.
And I'm taking it all in. I remember all the things, all the conversations, and just watching people coming and going from work, coming and going to shop. It was just such a learning experience. But then I was recruited to work at Members First. That was 13 years ago now. So Kim, her name, I always like to mention her name. I just recently actually reached out to her and said, thank you for starting
that's
my
sweet.
banking journey.
That's a business vitamin too.
That would make
Not
my-
forgetting
that
who
would-
helped you up the ladder.
Absolutely.
And
I said
opened
13
doors for
years
you.
ago, you
Yeah.
convinced me to start, and sometimes I look back and cannot believe where I got. And for that, I'm very, very grateful. And, you know, I wouldn't be here without her. Just taking that extra moment to not only recruit me, but also complimented my service. That you're such a good people person. I think you really could do this.
Well,
And
it's
that's
all
all it
something
took.
in you, yeah.
She really did.
Go
so it was
Kim.
so incredible.
Shout out to Kim.
Right?
Gratitude
I
goes a
love
long
it.
way, right?
I
And for
agree.
her just to identify that and take the time, you know, we're all about women helping women,
Yes.
which is the genesis.
Well, it's good
for
to
this.
remember, you know, that other people notice that, but that we have to keep doing that. Like we assume, oh, everybody's where they want to be, but you know, it's always good to keep reaching out to people and say, hey, I see this quality in you, which is incredible. I think you might be good at so-and-so. Can I make an introduction? Yes. Which is, you're always great at that.
love
You're
it.
writing notes and introducing everybody
Oh, for
to
sure.
everyone.
Because, well, you just connected me not
Yeah.
that long ago, which was really impactful. And I think, did you see, this is what I try to do with career development for women. I'm really good sort of identifying the skill set and then putting that where it can be amplified and accelerated. Did you see a path here at Members First immediately? Was it just something you thought, I'm going to do the best I can possibly do at this?
Yeah, that's a great question because there were times where I did not see a path at all. I would make a mistake, and with being coachable, you know, comes also the high self-accountability. You make a
Yeah.
mistake and you harp on it. You think this is it.
You're hard on yourself.
Why am I
Yeah.
here? They could find a better candidate. It
I
would
think
go
there's a
down
club
those.
for that.
And I was a teller, and I just didn't think of what could come next. How can I ever overcome that? And I, again, talking about being fortunate and the Members First culture that I'm so happy that we are able to keep alive. You were saying 600,000 members, 1,200 associates, but that culture still exists and it gets stronger every year of us saying, you made a mistake. Okay, forget the mistake, learn the lesson. Tomorrow's a new day. You can do better. And it was things that were fixable, luckily, but there were some things that I didn't think were fixable. For example, I love talking to people. So imagine a teller just starting, unfamiliar with a lot, including currency. You know, that's something that people did not know and I didn't know.
Right.
Why am I always off in my change? Oh, I confuse nickels and quarters. Those are the challenges I was truly facing. And it wasn't until somebody said, let me stand behind you and figure out why. Because you're attentive, you want to do better, but it's not happening. So they realized that maybe I just need a little bit more guidance, or maybe think outside the box and think what this person could be going through. But I didn't see that path, but fortunately had those leaders who stood behind me, stood next to me, pushed me forward, talked to me about things. I remember one of the people I talked to, she said, I'm going to have you talk to another person who is now in leadership, and she had similar problems like you are having as a teller. So she talked to me about, oh, you know, just do this, do that, slow down. I always prioritize talking to people. You know, somebody comes to my teller line, I'm talking to them, having the best conversations. I'll never forget one person who was going to the beach, and I was fascinated by their travel story. So he's telling me all about it. I'm asking questions, and then I made a mistake. And I held myself so accountable. Even my managers were looking at me, it's not that big of a deal. But in my mind, I shouldn't be here. Right. So they really held my hand through it. And that's a lesson I hold so close to my heart, that I have to forget the mistake, but learn the lesson so it doesn't get repeated. And I have to teach myself that now, but also teach it to my team. I see it, and I am very grateful that I'm able to recognize that as I see it. When you have a high achiever, and they're just starting and they make a mistake, big or small, in their mind, this is it. I might not have a job tomorrow. So I love to have that opportunity to sit down with them and say, let me talk you through it. And I tell my team a lot about my mistakes and the things that I had to go through. Some mistakes were bigger than others, but each of them came with a lesson, and I am very, very grateful for those kind of mistakes because I made them as I was growing up. And now I am able to use them as coaching tools and give myself grace because I know that I could come through.
Well, and
at the
that's a
end.
business vitamin too. We've talked about it in several episodes, and I think you said it, Annie, a bad day isn't a bad life.
That's
Yes.
right. And grace starts with ourselves.
Absolutely.
Because we're multitaskers, I think we have a lot of obligations and responsibilities as women. It's just fact, hashtag facts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I know I have to just let myself up,
Yeah.
right? Then this sort of, oh my gosh, you made a mistake. Yes, you're so gracious for everyone else, but why not yourself? And so that's where I think that is it. And being coachable, right? Yeah. So all those two things are really inward facing.
And your challenge or mistake you were talking about was you were engaging so much with the member, which is really that's the game itself, is to make them feel so
Special.
important and special. And whatever the mistake was, I'm sure they're never going to move their money anyway because they love coming in and connecting with you. And like you say, going into a branch, seeing a person, being able to tell a story. Maybe it was a celebration they had in their life. Maybe it was a really down day and you were the shining star that brightened their day. Sarah, so back to the culture you talk about, and Mike Wilson talked about that, establishing that culture of we. People your age, significantly younger than me and Annie, don't stay somewhere for 13 years without a really strong purpose and culture. So that kind of defines, in our day and age, you're switching back and forth. Oh, this one, not necessarily all the time for salary, but this, I feel more connected to this group. This company lets me, make more mistakes. And but for you to stay and rise, that says something about the organization.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I think that when you fail to see a path, somebody will be there to show you that path, whether it's a formalized program that work with people who are in supervisory positions looking into leadership or leaders who want to go to the next step. We have so many people willing to do that. They believe in that, and giving it back has also been helping me stay because I am now in a place to be able to give back what I once received. It is so incredible. I was just reflecting on something yesterday. I was at a store and I recruited someone from the store a few years ago. I was there shopping, doing my thing, and it honestly started with a compliment. I saw a young associate there and I said, I love your shoes. You are so put together. You look great.
I know, how easy is it to say you have a good look, right?
Yes,
just
that's
pass
it.
someone at the door. Wow,
All
you have
I
a good
did,
look.
and I don't know how, but about 30 minutes later, an interview was set up.
Wow.
At Members First.
Oh my word.
She said that she had applied before, she wasn't able to get the job, and I said, well, let me help you. I happen to interview very well, for those kind of positions, so I can help you. We talked, and she came, she applied, she did the interview, and she stayed with us for a good period of time. She got promoted once or twice. She had moved out of state. That was the only reason she left the credit union. But I was just thinking about her yesterday, and now I will definitely message her when we're done. But thinking about that experience, even though it happens so frequently, it doesn't dawn on me how important it is. And we are in an organization that encourages that. Talk with people, give them a chance, work with them. So many resources to help them grow and develop. So many people who also have grown within the credit union. My boss, for example, also started as a teller. And now she's managing the entire retail operation. That's inspirational.
Well, that's inspirational. I think the value there is you're never losing sight of the people you ultimately serve. The decisions you're making for the managers below you affect the people, the 600,000. Right. So if you've been there on the ground level, you have the optics to understand this is really what they need. Like this, these are the people who are coming, to deposit their life savings with us. Mm-hmm. Instead of depending on, well, statistically, or I'm going to plug it into AI, who is our customer? You see them. And that is so much more important to rise the ranks like that. Back to, Annie, I think you said, did you see your career path? And we've had a lot of guests on here who like you, were working out at one side of the brain and then flipped over to finance and had to, which was a wonderful opportunity. You're forced to work out, of maybe a side of the brain you don't feel was a strength, but you discovered like, okay, learning about bonds with Ellen really was challenging. I'm like, oh, I don't know. But we've talked to, especially to younger women, if you don't see your path, create it. Maybe it wasn't there before, and you can stay in your organization and go to your manager, your CEO, and say, this really is the path I would like to take, and would you come alongside me and help me reach that? Instead of saying, I don't see my place here, either one, I'm going to stay here, or two, I'm going to leave. Make your case. I think executives are very open to saying, I want your curiosity, I want your big ideas. How do you see yourself fitting in here? I think that's a message to younger women.
And I think the grass is the greenest where you water it in the absence of something like not tenable, where it's just not working. But did it occur to you, and I listened to you, and what you're doing, Sarah, is you're paying it forward. And is that intentional? Because as somebody working retail, new to the country, I mean, all those headwinds and obstacles, someone helped you. But yet from that point on, that's what you've done. So is that, I have this debt, or I owe it to the people, is that intentional or is that instinctive?
I think it's intentional, because I've been very fortunate to build a career here. When I didn't see the path, like we were talking, it wasn't because I didn't want to. I really wanted it, but I was not sure if I'm qualified, if I'm going to be able to make it. So seeing how one person in every stage of those doubts and challenges has made an impact and believed in me, and now it transformed my life, and not only my life, but my family's life. The way that we're able to live and the things that we are able to experience, and that is definitely intentional. I want to do that for others, and I want to do that for them, that they see the impact, they see the difference. Hopefully they do it too. Right. And I really do think that it does work when I help somebody start their career and they end up achieving some goals and believing in themselves just even a little bit more than they did before. Hopefully when they identify it in the next person, we will do the same thing for them. So that is my hope, is to continue empowering professionals, women, immigrants, anyone who wants to start a career here. I want to be a little light in their journey, and hopefully they come back to me, come back, let me know what you need, even if it's a quick setup of whatever it is that you need. And when I see them paying it forward, that is the ultimate.
It's just pay it forward. Reward. And so much of Anna and I, when we're thinking about this, is like I really wanted women to do more for women. Yes. And don't talk about it. Don't, I want action, right? Yes. I'm an action person. Okay, that's fine. That's the challenge. What are we going to do about it? Yeah. And that's what paying it forward means. It doesn't always become a great investment, but you're paying it forward, and most of the time it does.
Yeah.
So what would you tell younger Sarah? What would you tell your 17-year-old self now? Besides, don't stress over the mistakes you've made, because when I wrote an article called the 87 rule. When you're 87, only worry about the things in life that you will remember when you're 87.
That's
so
beautiful. If
you're not going to remember whatever the mistake was when the member came in to do a transaction, don't give it any more credence. But what you've learned now and lived in your short, amazing life, what would you tell younger Sarah?
You were saying something about being vocal about your career goals and being confident that the more you talk about it, the more you're going to find resources and find that support. I think I would say advocate more, not just for yourself, but for people around you. But it starts with yourself. You were saying if you're giving grace to yourself, you're going to learn it, so you're able to also give it. Right. If you're advocating for yourself and for your goals, you're going to end up learning how to do it for other women and people who are going through your circumstances. Yeah, so advocating and speaking loudly about your goals and not being afraid of that, I think would have maybe been nice to know at 17.
I know we have a long list of things we wish we knew.
Yeah.
But it all is part of the fabric of your story, and whatever mistakes or left turns, right turns. They all, I could see purpose in all of mine and all of ours. But I'm thinking for the younger listeners out there. So say there's a high school senior, what would you tell her?
I would say advocacy is definitely important, giving yourself the grace and the people around you, but also take an ownership of your goals.
Good.
You can seek a mentor, you can find someone who can help you, but that doesn't take away your responsibility to grow. You need to solicit
Good point.
feedback.
Good business vitamin.
Seek feedback. Go ask for not just the positive, but also what can I work on? What can I do to improve myself? There are times where you have to know when you need to walk away from maybe a project or a business or a job. However, sometimes it's important to give yourself also time to get through the challenge and get through the storm in order to come out on the other side stronger, having a lot of lessons that can help you and push you through. But when things get difficult, sometimes that's when the magic happens. That's when you learn the most.
Oh, that's
Setback
good too.
comeback.
Right?
Yeah, that's good too.
You learn about yourself, and you
Yeah.
also start to learn who around me can support me and who around me gives the best advice. So at times, those are the times when maybe at a younger age, I would have said, okay, maybe I need to find another job. I'm glad I didn't, but I want to tell everyone in that predicament, just wait. Think about what could you do differently, seek guidance, take ownership of those mistakes, turn them into a lesson so you get the opportunity of 10 years later talking about it and teaching it to maybe someone that now you're leading or helping and mentoring.
We just had about 6 business vitamins there.
Yeah, because I think the good times don't last and the bad times don't either. It just ebbs and flows.
But I love in the challenges waiting it out for where the
Right.
magic happens.
Right.
And we've all been there, and
there's magic in the struggle.
Yeah.
You don't see it at that point, but absolutely, that's where the grit,
I also
the
like that
resilience.
it's a good reminder, take ownership of your own professional growth. And when I talked about if you don't see your career path, make it, we've heard a lot of people say, well, they didn't offer me that opportunity, or I'm not growing because no one came to me. Well, when you own your own business, no one's knocking on your door saying, can I do business with you? It's your responsibility. You have to go out and be your own advocate and brand. And I think taking ownership of that, if there's no professional development path, create one, pitch one, go to whoever and say, so the company never had that before, let me be the first. Let me see what value I can bring to you by all the knowledge after you invest in me. So I think more women, being an advocate for themselves and for those around them, and being an advocate for their team around them, male or female. It doesn't, no respecter of that, but always lifting those up around us.
Do you think the common reason you don't get bored after 13 years or lift your head up or have a natural curiosity is because of the people?
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
there's no two people alike.
Yes.
There's no two stories alike. It's just, that's the most fascinating part. And sometimes I think, well, maybe I don't want to do this anymore. Maybe I don't. And then when you start to construct something, a fantasy, or you're just trying to hang in there, right, through a really difficult time, I think all the things are what I'm already doing. It's just the people, right, that are sort of the special sauce. And as Ann said, you have that.
Oh my word, yeah.
That's EQ is no joke. And IQ is super, super important, but I say I'm just a PhD in common sense. It's the people part when you're listening. And so is that the most invigorating part of your job, and the energy that you just ooze it, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, no. And so is that something that you feel is the most sustaining, because you have a tough job?
Absolutely. People in all avenues, my team,
Right.
my community, the people that I work with every day. It is so exciting because you get to learn so much through every interaction. If you want to look at it that way, you can really look at every interaction with your own lens. I'm going into a challenging conversation. Okay, great. Now I'm going to actually build a stronger rapport with this associate or this team
Good
member or
viewpoint. Good
this
take.
community member, because we're going to have to get to know one another. I'm going to have to really have this real conversation with you. We're going to walk away from this
Right.
stronger. I know this. So I'm walking in, not to say I'm excited, but I am excited to have this real conversation, authentic.
But
Let's
you bring a
our
level
pieces.
of optimism to the conversation, because
Yes.
either way, if you bring, a negative perspective, that
Right.
will be your outcome. If
Or
you're
if
going
an-
in there.
Exactly.
Because conflict is tricky.
Yeah.
And the more people in your life, the more you really have to find a way to manage that, just as you would sort
Yeah.
of the go-go times and the high times.
Yeah. Or if someone is starting and they don't know what their path looks like, that's
Right.
okay. That is super exciting. Let's talk about it. Please tell me what you like,
Yeah.
what you don't like. What do you think your natural talents are? What do you think you want to work on? Let's work through this. And people also, even the people who've been here for years, go through so many seasons. So every season brings a different part of their journey. Their
Right.
challenges are different. Their strengths are different. You said something in the beginning that you can't really always make people happy, but I do think I can, and I try my absolute best to help them feel fulfilled in their day-to-day life. Go home feeling good, feeling proud. Yes, there's more work to do tomorrow, but what we have accomplished today was pretty amazing. It feels good. It fills my cup. So that also is exciting, because every time I meet someone new, now I have to help them come up with their right formula that fills their cup and help them feel fulfilled with the work that we do.
Do you leave work and you're finished with work, Sarah? Or does it constantly have...
Never.
You can guess the answer to that. Yeah.
We talk about balance.
Yeah,
We can
I
all
know.
strive
Yeah.
for it, right?
Yeah.
Right?
I strive to have harmony. I've heard that.
Good.
I think it was at the conference for women last
Yeah.
year. Work-life harmony. Balance implies that you want to achieve perfection and you can't. There will be seasons where I am all in with my work. I'm talking about my team and all the things that are coming up and what more can I do. That is just who I am and how I think. It brings me a lot of joy to
Right.
think of those things. And then with the harmony, there are seasons where I need to be more attentive to what's happening outside, or maybe take some time off. Something that I have learned recently, that it really is so important. People were saying it, but I didn't understand it until you take some time off, really set your intention to, I'm going to rest, I'm going to give my brain a break so I can come and show up better for myself and my team.
Great.
And it really does work. So that's the harmony. In those times, I will give my brain just a little break. Otherwise, I'm just always thinking, what else can I do? What more can I do?
You have a natural curiosity.
How can we
yeah.
help more and more
tell,
people?
right?
Yes.
Which makes me have more of a
I know.
curiosity about her.
Yes.
And a fun fact, and this is one of my favorite quotes. I'm a quote. Just everyone has said something better than I will. But Dolly Parton said, "Never get so busy earning a living that you forget to make a life."
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so
agree.
at our own peril, because at 87, you're not going to sit there and say, look how many days I was at the office, look how much money I
wish I
made.
wouldn't have gotten the quarter and the nickel mixed up.
Yeah.
You're never going to remember.
Precisely, right?
Yeah.
And it's the seasons, the lifestyle seasons that you go through on the journey with people that you did have a role in. And that's by far the most gratifying thing to me.
So where do you see yourself in 5 years, Sarah?
Ooh, that's a great question. We kind of talked about it.
We're going to force the intention out of you.
Okay, I love it. I know I'll be here with Members First. I know I'll be working with people. I'll be honest, I'm not sure exactly in what capacity, but I will be working with people, helping the community, helping a team grow, develop. But I am all about the people, building more connections, building more impact, helping people do the impact too.
Yeah.
Give them the tools to create their impact and their reputation and their legacy. But I will be here.
See, and that is what AI can never replace, like sitting right here. So there's, I think as we grow and we harness all these new tools, the competitive advantage are the people behind the tools and the software. They will never replace your energy and your representation, just the sunshine on your face. I mean,
people connect with people.
Yeah.
That's how we're built. That's our social structure. And that's why it's so special.
So if someone wants to reach out to you, Sarah, where would they, besides every single community and women's event that I see you at, just at the PA chamber dinner with you. Yeah. So where could we find you? If someone has a question and they would like to, consider you a mentor or have coffee with you, Are you at one of the branches? Where would they be able to find you? LinkedIn?
LinkedIn would be the best way. I am traveling all the time. I'm all in on being visible, going to the events, going to see my branches.
Aren't you shocked?
So I'd love to be in my car, just driving, getting to my next destination, meeting the next person, building the next connection. But LinkedIn works really, really well.
Good.
And with that being said, I would love to. I love to meet with people. I love to talk to them about their career journey. Even if it's not necessarily at Members First, I'm happy to. I have a few coffee spots that are local and my favorites. So I welcome all those meetings and I enjoy them very, very much.
Well, we said this before, but she has to come back again.
I can't thank you enough. I mean, this show does so much for us, as well as who we connect and interact with, and my heart just overflows. And that's how I know doing the right thing is so important to me, right? Yes. And so thank you for this, and thank you for the time.
No, Sarah, you're amazing. I can't wait to see you at our next downtown Camp Hill event, which is always on a Saturday, and she shows up even on the weekends. But we love learning about your story even deeper than I already knew, and I'm excited to see all the connections you're going to make, and we'll be opening doors for you and saying to the next young person, you have to meet and have coffee with Sara Elerman.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I know, high gear with Sarah, yes.
I appreciate it
we're
so
truly
much.
Inspired, but thank you so much for taking the time to come to your studio.
It's
with
exciting.
the great Gravitas
To be here
duo.
with you is so exciting. It is
Thank
such
you.
a great experience. I'm so happy to be here. And you just let me know the next time. I will be here.
All right. Tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. Thanks for sharing everything. And Annie, this flies by.
Wings of love.
Have a high gear day. Thanks for listening. It's our desire that these stories will bring energy, ideas, and fresh thinking that you can use today. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Instagram, and have a high gear day.